Scott Van Pelt saying, oh, if a team has 5 healthy players, they should hold on. Is the health and well-being of the student athletes at the forefront, or are the dollar signs? Because you can't have it both ways. You can't sit here and say, oh, if you got 5 healthy players, you got to go play. Why? Wait, those guys are going to go play 40 minutes and someone's going to get hurt. I mean, you're going to play 40 minutes straight of basketball at a high level. Someone's going to roll an ankle. Someone's going to need a little hamstring. Someone's going to cramp up.
Yep.
But so Scott Van Pelt, and we have something to talk about and we have something to watch. These kids, they got to go risk their health and well-being, not even COVID related, just their hamstrings, their ankles, whatever. Just so Scott Van Pelt and us can talk about things. No, that's not right. What is up, everyone? Brandon Ferst, aka First Report, representing the First Off the Bench podcast network. Everyone comes off the bench. We are first. We are also back. It is time for the 20th episode of 2Bs on a pod. Yeah, we hit that magical mark. I am, of course, your first B, Brandon Ferst. You can find me at First Report, FERST. My co-host is our second B on this pod is Coach Brandon Lupian. You can find him at Portland 76er. Coach Lupian, how you doing this morning?
Good morning. A little chilly here, but it's all good, and I'm excited after a little short stint on the DL, right? Day to day.
Yeah, exactly. Day to day, rub out that hamstring, take a couple days, feeling a little bit like Trent Grisham, that great run hamstring strain. We're not going to see it for a couple days, but we're also not terribly worried that it's going to be really bad. So
we're in spring training mode.
Exactly. We will definitely get to some spring training. Of course, today is Selection Sunday. As I knock on wood, we almost made it. We're like 6 hours away from finally having a bracket put together. But before we get into all that, let's kind of go back to the bread and butter of this show, and it's our NFL team reports. Obviously, it's been a couple weeks, and some things have, come through for both of our teams. All started off with the Eagles. It's been an already tumultuous offseason, whether it's the firing of Doug Peterson, whether it's the highly controversial trade of Carson Wentz. And now we're hearing rumors. I love Philadelphia. The media in Philadelphia, it's very difficult. I believe that was actually the birthplace of fake news, just throwing that out there. There's a lot of things that you see and you go, that can't be true. But I read an article today that earlier this year, Howie Roseman and Lane Johnson got into a little spat, and apparently,
right?
Yeah, Howie Roseman. So Lane Johnson is walking by, and Howie Roseman says, "Good thing you have your mouthpiece in, so you can't say something stupid." Now, as someone who loves to talk that ish, I love it. Now, obviously, this isn't two friends talking ish at this point.
Right.
I find it very hard to believe that the 145, 150-pound Howie Roseman is saying that to a 320-pound Lane Johnson, even with him being the employer or not. I mean, you got to have some cojones to talk to a man twice your size that big. I don't know. I don't think this actually happened. I think there was some drama. I think there might have been something like this said behind closed doors, and it got to, the reporter, and they went for it. But at the end of the day, it's a perfect microcosm for how the Eagles offseason is already going. We obviously, the 6th overall pick is up in the air we about 5 weeks away from that draft. It was expected the Eagles possibly going to be kicking the tires on some of those quarterbacks. I saw a lot of trading up with the Dolphins to number 3 to pick up a quarterback. In the last couple weeks, Jeffrey Lurie, the owner of the Eagles, has made it known that he would like the Philadelphia Eagles to pretty much just anoint Jalen Hurts as the quarterback. Don't bring anybody else in to compete with him, and just kind of give him the job, which, I mean, I guess I somewhat understand, but at the same time, you had a guy in there in Carson Wentz who would have been a great that would have been a great competition. I mean, you're literally paying him 5 times more anybody else on that team, and he's going to be playing for another team. And on top of that as well, the one positive for me is I believe if they're going to go through this route, it opens up the door. Okay, that number 6 pick is going to be the wide receiver. And the way I kind of look at it, I think, the first 5 picks, you're going to see maybe 3 or 4 quarterbacks. and that offensive tackle. Believe me, if Cincinnati does not take, is it Sene? Sene from wherever he's from,
Oregon.
that would, Oregon. Thank you.
Oregon.
It would be Joe Burrow would just have to retire if you don't go out and get that that big tackle. You're crazy. And then I think the first 3 or 4 picks are going to go quarterback way. So at the very least, the Eagles will have the second pick in terms of wide receivers. Maybe the first wide receiver goes early, depending on who moves up where. But there's a chance the Eagles will pretty much be able to have all wide receivers on the board, figure out which one the right one is. Now, that's great. But then we go back to last year, and they had that opportunity, and they valued Jalen Reagor over Justin Jefferson. And I know it's like, God, Brandon, we know it's a broken record. I know. And I don't want to ever disrespect Jalen Reagor. He is looking, he's got a chance. I mean, it's been 1 year. He was hurt. Not exactly a ton of talent on that team anyway, but still, Justin Jefferson breaking Randy Moss record 1 pick later, not ideal.
It was a great forecast for this year's draft. They really didn't want him.
I guess so. They really wanted maybe Devontae Smith. Apparently, they're just big fans of wasted first-round picks on wide receivers. So
great forecast. It was
exactly. It's and the other part of this, the extra, as if it wasn't bad enough, the Eagles, in terms of the salary cap, have been doing some work. I'm sure Coach will have something to say about that on his team here in a minute. They're another team. They're the only team that's worse than the Eagles at this point.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. They're also not paying someone $34 million to play for another team, but that's another story. So you don't get that opportunity to go out and maybe pick up a free agent. You don't get an opportunity to go out and fill some holes that way. You got your draft, and then we're still going to see some more releases from the Eagles. They still need to let some people go, and we've seen some releases. Deshaun Jackson, Alshon Jeffrey, numerous amounts of people. And like I said, I think it's going to continue. For the Eagles, it's grin and bear it time. Go back to 2017, watch the replay of the Super Bowl, because it won't be a whole lot of fun this next year.
Across the league, though, there's some names that are getting cut. So, it's not as bad as, for you and I, because of our cap situations, there's names across the league. And it's that time of the year, more or less. It's the NFL's way of. So we talked last week about Major League Baseball altering service times. It's pretty much NFL's way of saying, you know what, veterans, you made your money years ago. It's time to restructure those deals on different teams.
Exactly. I think we're going to see a situation in Kansas City where, we saw what they did. It was Eric Fisher, released, which. Wow, he might have been the MVP of the Super Bowl, even though he didn't play, because we saw how terrible that offensive line was.
That recovery is going to be hard.
Yeah.
The recovery is going to be hard.
Very much. And that I understand that part of it, but I think for the Chiefs, they're going to run into a situation. It's kind of like the anti-Tom Brady. Tom Brady just took another pay cut to bring in probably, I don't know, here in Odell Beckham could be coming, stuff like that. Patrick Mahomes is going to have to restructure that contract. If he wants to be protected, it's fine right now. You still got Kelsey and Tyreek Hill under center, but guess what? When you get into those big games, you're going to run for your life, period. Yep. Unless you restructure that contract, figure out a way to get $10 more million on that offensive line. You have to find a way to do that. I saw a meme this week, and it's Tom Brady. Oh, okay, yeah, I'll restructure my contract this time, or yet again. And all the other quarterbacks, God, why does Brady keep doing it? And it's just like, because he is sacrificing the dollars and cents for that team to go out and spend $5 more million on a tackle or a wide receiver or a defensive player, things like that. And look, when you're Tom Brady, Giselle makes plenty of money. Yeah, he's not even the breadwinner of that family. So he just supplements Giselle's income. So he's good, but you're going to have to see that from Kansas City. But from the Eagles, like I said, it's draft day will be nice. It will hopefully be nice. We'll see how the actual draft goes.
Correct.
I probably just jinxed myself right there. But hopefully the draft is the one day this offseason the Eagle fans can go, okay, we might see some way out of this. But right now, I think This is crazy to say, but I think the Jaguars have a brighter future than the Eagles right now. I really do, assuming, of course, they take Trevor Lawrence. I really do. No disrespect to Nick Sirianni, but that is a guy who is walking in. He's essentially got a toothbrush, and the guy needs a power washer. Yeah. And that's where he is right now. And I feel bad for him. I hope that, Jeffrey Lurie gives him time. But we'll see. And Howie Roseman, if you're talking to Lane Johnson like that, you deserve to get knocked out. I'm sorry. I don't believe violence is the answer, but if that's not the first time you talk to Lane Johnson that way, guaranteed. And eventually you got to learn. But that is all I have for the Eagles report. Not a whole lot of rainbows and kittens there, a lot of doom and gloom, but it is what it is. We got cheesesteaks, so it's all good. Coach Lupian, how about your Saints?
Cheesesteaks are great. And as far as Howie Roseman, is that his name?
Yes.
That's just the application for Hard Knocks. So be on the lookout, because if he's like looking for drama and they're looking to record it, that might be kind of like the kick in the can. Like, let's get it over.
That's fantastic.
Not only do we have a quarterback controversy, we're going to have a front office field controversy, and I want Hard Knocks to record it. So it's for the fans,
exactly.
For the fans. As far as my Saints go, yeah, weeks ago, it was Saints worst kept, this season. And then it was your Eagles, right? Now we're down to 12.9 million over the cap, down from 90.
Yeah.
So we've made some moves, and some major names have been already cut or restructured. I mean, they're looking to drop Malcolm Brown on top of restructuring Mike Thomas's contract this year, on top of dropping Janoris Jenkins $7 million, on top of restructuring Demario Davis and Cam Jordan. And then we're all kind of waiting what Drew's going to do after he restructured his contract. So they're making progress on that mark. And I can't forget not to mention them cutting Emmanuel Sanders, who had just another monster year, but is unfortunate a cap casualty. And like I mentioned in between, that's just the way the NFL is going, because it's not only just our teams dropping guys, it's everyone across the board. My indication is, and I brought it up on Wednesday and I mentioned him, what are they going to do with Jack Rabbit? This week they finally cut him. And I'm glad you brought up cornerback talk last Wednesday, because you mentioned a couple of names, and I can't butcher the names any more than I tried to on Wednesday. So I'm not going to go with it there. But I also mentioned that they've had those Zoom interviews with a number of cornerbacks, and a number of cornerbacks you and our friend Raider Jim mentioned. The cat from Syracuse is one of them, and you could pronounce it. Do you have that name?
I don't.
But you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. It's like Emelu, something like that.
Yes. First Raider Jim. Get him on the line. So I'm looking. That's possible. I did see a meme, since you brought up memes, that KC might be on the phone call with the Saints in regards to Terod Armstead replacing Eric Fisher. So we may go tackle, but who knows? I mean, and then there's the Mac Jones rumors as far as drafting him and his intelligence. Yeah, he may not have all the athletic assets as a Trey Lance or a Zach Wilson or even the Trevor Lawrence, but as far as his intelligence goes, coming out of the pro style offense already, knowing how to make reads, knowing how to count down reads and routes, very knowledgeable, high IQ quarterback. So he can't be any worse arm strength as Breeze right now, since he can't throw the ball past 60, Drew in regards, but the scouts say his intelligence and his accuracy is pro ready. Coming out of a pro style offense, that just accelerates the growth. The problem with him is they don't know what his ceiling is. You could forecast the ceilings of a Justin Fields because of the athleticism, or a Trey Lance because of the athleticism, or Zach Wilson, who's beyond athletic and had just a monster year. And then we've seen the athleticism of Trevor Lawrence for the last, 3 years. So the ceiling is the question mark, and why he may be dropping down. but then the intelligence and the accuracy is what's keeping them afloat in the teens of the draft. So I could very well see your Eagles trading down out of 6 and collecting picks and letting your 3 wide receivers pass for a Mac Jones around the late teens. But that's just me being just pulling your hair a little bit, But yeah,
Yeah, Mac.
up until Drew really announces, I think things will solidify. Monday's the big day. Monday, we'll see. Um, I know, Jameis is the Saints' #1 option, but he's still a free agent. And there's a team out there. What the hell is the team that is in hot pursuit? Oh, Houston. So it's between Houston and the Saints. So, it's weird. Is that an indication of what they're going to do with Deshaun? So
Yeah, that's because they came out. I believe it's David Cawley came out and said, hey, not only is Deshaun Watson here and committed, but we don't have a backup plan, which for me is like, first of all, don't say that. There's no need for that. I understand the point you're trying to make, but no one needs to hear that you have no plan for what to do if he doesn't play. Like, we don't need to hear that. But for Mac Jones, with his situation, he's like, you watch Justin Fields, you watch Zach Wilson, you watch Trevor Lawrence, and you watch Mac Jones. Mac Jones will always be number 4 because he's not this sexy player. He's not the guy who's going to break things down and run for 30 yards. He's not a guy who's been a starter for 3 years. He's not this uber athlete, crazy. But one of the main telling signs for me was this year, and they asked Jalen Waddle, who was a better quarterback, Mac Jones and he didn't even, the reporter didn't even get to finish Tua. And it was Mac Jones out of Jalen Waddle's mouth. And once again, with all due respect to Tua, I do believe Mac Jones is more NFL ready. However, you talk about that ceiling, he might already be at that ceiling.
Yes.
And that's fine. Now, first round pick, second, I don't know if this is his ceiling. I don't think it's franchise quarterback ceiling. But when you're throwing, 78%, 77% last year in the SEC, I know you have, Alabama, you got tons of talent, but you know what? It's still difficult in that conference. It's still difficult to do what you got to do. And he was able to do it well. I think you're right. I think he's going to drop. I think everyone's in love with the big 3, maybe even 4 if you want to throw Lance in there first.
Yeah.
But someone is going, and I'll tell you what, if the Saints can get a hold of him, I don't know if he'll fall that far, but if the Saints can get a hold of him, my goodness. And another part of it too is, do the Saints really, is that of need that they feel that they, because you talked about cornerback, you talked about, if Armstead's gone, maybe we got to fill in that tackle box, maybe we go that route. It's going to be very interesting draft wise, but Mac Jones is one of those, he could be really, really good right away.
Yeah.
But that's it. He'll be that kind of like we saw with Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins had that 1 year he started and he hasn't gotten any better. Maybe a little worse, but he has never really kind of progressed from that rookie year with Washington. He's just kind of continually the same.
As much conversation as we had on Mac Jones and the conversations on the national media, about Mac Jones, you have that much conversation about a guy, you're going to have the same kind of conversations about a guy 10 years into his career. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's very promising for him on a personal level, right? And then he's 10 years in, and he's probably got 1 or 2 Pro Bowls because he's had solid years, right? And he's not going to be a top 5 kind of quarterback, but he's going to be that steady quarterback that is a reliable guy. Yeah. And you're 10 years in, probably a little bit higher than like a Fitzmagic, who I could see him going into Philly and having a quarterback controversy. But and then you're like, geez, Fitzmagic is how many seasons in the NFL? Same with Mac Jones. And it's probably going to be a very profitable one for him and
Yeah.
a very solid one career wise. Nothing like nothing like mind blowing, but all of a sudden he's in the league for 10 plus years and he's had a great solid career. So that's the ceiling everyone's talking about for him. I wish it's higher, I wish it's higher, but that's up to the coaching staff, the QB coach, the OC, and the head coach to make happen, right? And
Yeah.
until he's into a team, uh, we will see, as far as what more they could get out of him. But as much talk as he's getting, man, he's probably going to have a long career.
Mhm.
You know,
If I was looking for a comparison, both how he plays and like career wise, I'd look at Joe Flacco. A guy who
yeah,
never in the MVP category,
yep,
but if you give him talent, you give him defense, you get well coached, you're going to do well. Obviously, they won that Super Bowl. And, at the same time, eventually some young kid's going to come in and look better, like Lamar Jackson did. That's fine. But that's where
yep.
if Mac Jones can, get to where he needs to be or everything, I think his career, comparison ceiling would be Joe Flacco. And I think anybody would want that. Anybody's okay with that. That's a franchise quarterback. It's not, Patrick Mahomes. It's not Tom Brady, 7 championships, but it's one, and you're competitive for 8 to 10 years. And you're not worried about, oh my gosh, is my quarterback ready to play today? No,
Right.
he'll be ready to go. Not gonna, throw 450 yards every game, but he'll give you a chance to win every single day. But
100. Great call.
yes, moving on to spring training. Look, Padres, it is March 14th. So coming up on about 2.5 weeks until opening day begins, as I knock on wood, because that's what we do in 2020, 2021. But for the Padres, I'll be honest with you. I don't know their record. I don't care about their record. I have a lot of people, they lost this game. I don't care. They got guys running wind sprints on the warning track in the 6th inning. Don't tell me about what the game is or this or that. They have certain games that they'll end it with 2 outs in 1 inning. And another thing, look, we talk about betting and things like that. Don't ever bet preseason football or spring training baseball. If you do, 1-800-GAMBLER is the spot for you because you need help. And I say that with a straight face, no judgment. But for the Padres, excuse me, for the Padres, this is about building the last bit of the roster. It's figuring out who 23, 24, and 25 are. It's figuring out who the number 5 starter is. It's figuring out who's the 7th, 8th, 9th inning guys. Everything else other than that, I think, is pretty much set. Obviously, Trent Grisham, a hamstring injury. It's grade 1, which it's either grade 1 or grade 3, whichever is the I guess the least worrisome. Anyways, so they're not terribly worried about that. They have had Jerkson Profar playing in center field, which I was a little frustrated with him in left field because I'm not a fan of his arm. And now you're putting him in center field. Hey, okay, whatever you got to do. But I think a Jorge Mateo out there, I'd rather give up that bat and take a glove. I think that the lineup can take one guy who's only a glove in that lineup. I think we'll be okay. But we'll see how that goes. I got to say, though, I watched yesterday's spring training game. And you want to talk about mid-season form. You want to talk about somebody who doesn't care if it's spring training, doesn't care if the games don't matter. Fernando Tatis Jr. is the definition of I'm going to go steal a run from you. If you blink, I get that run. He has that infield single straight up the box. Then the next batter, same thing, right off the pitcher, bounces over. They get the out at first. No one's covering third. So Fernando Tatis goes first to third. So there's now 1 out. Then Manny Machado gets jammed on a thing that's out to short left. And the minute I saw it, and I went, okay, well, if it's regular season, he'd tag up, but he won't tag up right now. It's spring training. No, Brandon, that is false. He ends up scoring. It is unbelievable. You talk about creating chances. You talk about creating runs. That is the definition. No one got a hit. That was total production on the base paths. And this kid's speed, this kid's mentality is next level. Believe me, I've heard a lot of people who, oh, 340 million is a lot of money. You are correct. It is, but it's not your money. No one is coming and knocking on my door with a
election bill.
Yeah, hey, we need to pay Fernando. Come on now, come on. No, it's done. It's over with. You know how I'm going to pay for Fernando Tatis' contract? I'm going to go buy. Yeah, yes. I'm going to go buy a ticket, buy a beer, because there was so long as a Padre fan, I would go and you pay the $30 to go to the game. You pay $15 for a beer, and the highest paid player on the Padres made $4 million. Now, once again, $4 million, a lot of money, not in baseball. So to see this team now fully going for it, I can't wait to get out there. I'll tell you what, the ticket prices, I might have to see you next year, Padres, because
you might have to put in for a press pass.
Good call.
A pod pass, yeah.
Yeah, pod pass. I like it. Yeah. The prices are ridiculous. Obviously, look, the one thing I learned in econ, supply and demand, there's a bigger demand and a lot less tickets, so I understand that. But I think opening day, the cheapest ticket I saw was, $1,500. There was the first Saturday, I think it's the 24th of April, the Padres will play the Dodgers. That Saturday game, I don't know if I misread it. Someone typed it. $10,000 for a ticket? I wouldn't even pay $5,000 to Game 7 of the World Series in a Padres. I wouldn't pay more than $5,000.
No, when I could reach over sitting on my own couch for a beer, watching the game on HD.
Yep.
Or 4D. I think my technology is out. It needs an update. 4G.
100%.
4D, yeah.
You don't have to worry about going in. You don't have to worry about when can I wear my mask? When am I not wearing my mask? Where am I? Things like that. You get at home to be able to watch the game at home. It is a little unfortunate because I did miss going to the games last year. Who knows? Maybe a random like Pittsburgh Pirates Monday game, I can maybe get like $80, something like that.
Or the Thursday day game.
Yeah, something.
The day game. Yeah. Those were my favorites.
Yes. Or hey, just hop on a flight and go to Texas and do whatever the heck you want up there because they're just going crazy.
Man, I don't know about that.
Yeah, no, that's a bit much. But for the Padres, back to them, it's about building the last bit of the roster, and that's the best part about the Padres. For the Padres, normally it's been who's our starters? Who's going to be starting at pretty much every position? Now, not the case. So really, really happy that obviously the Padres are progressing. Fernando Tatis looks ready to roll. Trent Grisham, hopefully back in the next few days, but once again, they weren't terribly worried. But that is a question mark. Who is going to be the backup center fielder? Because Trent Grisham isn't going to be able to play every day in center field, and that's a big center field, a tough center field. You got to have somebody who knows how to play the position.
It's a Gold Glover. Give him a break.
Oh, yeah, definitely. But 150 games, I'm worried about those 12. You know me, I'm a pessimist. Don't talk to me about the times when it's good. Talk to me about when it's bad.
He does have that hamstring, but
he does.
I'm glad you brought up those guys in the back end of the roster, 24, 25, 20. It's going to be 26, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you're talking about midseason form. Well, let me talk about our own, Rancho Bernardo's own Gasoki Kato, right? Or I'm butchering it. I do that. But, I mean, talk about midseason form. The guy's making that timely hit, making that timely play, scraping and crawling and doing whatever this local kid could do to get 25 or 26. And it's refreshing because, in seasons past, me and you are like those the groundskeepers in major leagues. Like, who the hell's this? Or the steel workers. Who's this guy? And now we're focused on roster spot 24, 25, 26. And not a lot of teams could say that. A lot of teams fans, a lot of teams podcasts like our own are like, I don't know who we got, how do you. But local kids making ground in spring training. Yeah, they're probably going to start out in AAA and that's all they're going to be. But dang, they're making their presence known because you mentioned Jorge Mateo, who really hasn't claimed a spot. Jorge Oña, he hasn't really claimed a spot. who else is out there? There's two more guys that I'm
I'll
thinking
throw
of.
one in there. I don't know if he's in shouting distance, but CJ Abrams has had an incredible spring. I don't know if he's in that little group
quite yet.
I think he's still got probably a couple more years in the minors, but he's in the next couple of years. But there's
but Kim's not really claiming a spot.
No.
They spent big money on him. And then there's one more guy, and he's just I can't think of him right now that's been, you know, within 23, 24, 25, 26 within the last couple, and he's not claiming a spot. So, you know, a kid like our own local kids, you know, making that timely hit in mid-season form kind of action is just showing the front office how prepared and ready he is willing to be. Possibly that next Greg Garcia, whom they let go. You know, he could play multiple positions, and is putting the ball on the bat in timely situations where others aren't. So, you know, make your waves, kiddo.
Yeah.
You know, make the front office know that you want that spot. Good for you.
It's great too. I mean, plus if you follow prep baseball in Southern California, Rancho Bernardo's, you know, right there. At least in San Diego, it's probably the best. You know, that was my one claim to fame. I faced Cole Hamels as a walk-on freshman, and for some reason my coach figured, seventh inning, lefty Cole Hamels, let's bring in the lefty Brandon, who's, you know, batting 132 for the year. It's the only time I ever stepped in the batter's box. Oh yeah, right. I was not opening my body up to Cole Hamels at that point. I went up there, I watched those pitches go in and went, all right, I have a story for the rest of my life. Anyways, moving on from the Padres, which, you know, obviously, look, that's going to, in the next couple of weeks, start to take everything over. Once April rolls in, that's really all that's going to be going on. But it is Selection Sunday. And once again, I'll knock on some wood. We are hours away from the brackets being put together. We are then, you know, 48, 72 hours away from the tournament beginning. Of course, I'll knock on wood again. Minor adjustment, just if you're listening to this, it'll be Friday, Saturday, first round games, Sunday, Monday, second round games. And then the regionals, the next round, the Sweet 16 Elite 8 will be Saturday, Sunday. Elite 8s will be Monday, Tuesday. So just keep that in mind. The normal Final Four will be Saturday, Championship Monday. So that'll be later on. But with Selection Sunday rolling around, we're on the heels of last night, yesterday, San Diego State finishing off Utah State and finishing off a really, really good season. They go 23-4. They haven't lost since mid-January when they lost to Utah State. They've won 13, 14 in a row, something like that. This is a team that's starting to figure it out. I think one of the best parts about this team is they can get efforts from other people in terms of, you know, hey, Jordan Shackle's struggling a bit. Then Terrell Gomez, I think it was Nevada, had maybe his best game as an Aztec. Then you have, you know, Matt Mitchell is pretty much always going to be there. Mensa was a beast yesterday. Really kind of saw what we've been hoping for, at least in certain spurts. You know, maybe not. That's the biggest thing. He needs to play a whole 40 minutes, but he missed all of last year. This year's been weird for everybody. The one concern I have for San Diego State, and it's been like this even with Steve Fisher's teams, they have a penchant to play down to their competition. I'm sorry. Nevada, San Diego State is more than 7-point favorites, or better than 7 points than Nevada. Nevada has one player. They have that one guard who is going to be a beast next year and already is a beast. And San Diego State, when you get into the tournament, I look at Andy Katz's bracket. He's not doing them any favors. Has them as an 8 seed to take on the 9 seed Rutgers. And that would be a second round matchup. If you get by Rutgers, you would face Baylor. So tough cook in there. But for a team that's 23-4, has wins over UCLA, Arizona State, I could see this team being a 7 seed. I could make a case for them being a 7 seed, but it's going to be very, very close, very, very tight here today. But San Diego State did everything they needed to. Yeah. I will continue, though, to harp back early on in the year. It was that Colorado State game. And not only was it a bad loss, it was a bad loss on CBS.
Yes.
And that's big. You can lose on CBS Sports Network at 10 o'clock at night on a Wednesday and probably go under the radar. Saturday at 1 o'clock on CBS, when they switch to your game and you're up 37-12 and you end up losing that game, that sticks in their minds. So I think that's going to hurt them. But at the end of the day, this Aztec team has the ability to really beat anybody that's put in front of them. Obviously, Baylor would be a tough one, and plenty of them would be tough ones. But San Diego State, I think, is very capable of winning a game in the tournament and competing in that second round game, no matter who they face. What are your thoughts, Coach?
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm glad. This is the third or the second time San Diego State's been the regular season champions and tournament champions. I heard this talk over the radio this past week, and congratulations to those boys and Coach Dutch and the program. I would contest that they're a 5 or a 6, but I mean, who am I? A homer, number one. Two, just not very knowledgeable in regards to how the brackets are calculated and teams are put in. But I think as you've seen throughout the season, they're not a 7. They're higher. They're a 5, 6. And with the pandemic and teams not being as good, those perennial blue bloods not being as good, there's a strong case that State has been majorly overlooked. I wouldn't want to be Baylor in the second round facing a San Diego State who's better than that rated number projects, but that's a second round matchup and they still have to get past the first, and then the brackets have to be put together. But so this is an interesting day for everyone in the program, because as we've seen in this past week, Duke out, COVID, Kansas, COVID scare, Virginia, COVID scare. And then all of a sudden, as our friend, co-host, colleague, Greater Jim tweeted out, the NCAA is going to allow, as long as you have 5, that's just madness, And hey, if Baylor has 5, that puts State's chances a whole lot better than not. And if Baylor has a 5, then they definitely don't want to play San Diego State in the second round. So it's a weird one. But that's what 2020 and 2021 have become, right? You better get used to it. But where I got to give credit to San Diego State, because they've controlled their own destiny throughout the year, and they focused on, they could only control what's in front of them. They're not worried about where they're going to be placed in the bracket. They know what was at odds or at stake throughout their entire season, and they took care of business, rightfully so. They've been rewarded through their efforts, so congratulations to them. I'm looking forward to the brackets, because up until they're posted, we really don't know what to forecast or expect or whatever. Rutgers not an easy team, and Baylor, even though they've slipped up the last couple of weeks, they've been 2 all season long, 2, 3, 4 all season long, and Scott Drew has a great program and a great growth in everything that they've been doing down there. Not that I like them, but
I agree with I think honestly it is incredibly detrimental. Like Raider Jim said, that tweet that Scott Van Pelt saying, "Oh, if a team has 5 healthy players, they should." Hold on. Is the health and well-being of the student athletes at the forefront, or are the dollar signs? Because you can't have it both ways. You can't sit here and say, "Oh, if you got 5 healthy players, you got to go play." Why? Wait, those guys are going to go play 40 minutes and someone's going to get hurt. I mean, you're going to play 40 minutes straight of basketball at a high level. Someone's going to roll an ankle. Someone's going to need a little hamstring. Someone's going to cramp up.
Yeah.
But so Scott Van Pelt, and we have something to talk about and we have something to watch. These kids, they got to go risk their health and well-being, not even COVID related, just their hamstrings, their ankles, whatever. Just so Scott Van Pelt and us can talk about things. No, that's not right, and it's not going to be right. I love Scott Van Pelt. I think he's great. He's one of the few people I actually enjoy on that network still. But there's lines, and this is it. You know, if anyone doesn't feel comfortable, if you get into a spot, you know, even 8 players, I think is really like that's bare minimum, because when you're talking about 8 players, more than likely players 7 and 8 have 5, 7, 8 minutes all season. And then they're just going to come in and play 20 minutes and not hurt themselves. I mean, you know, you can practice all you want, but eventually you step out on that court, let alone, you know, a December game. No, we're going to do this in March Madness. It is really, really madness to me. But
the time
I think
that dollars really
exactly
don't make sense.
And that's the thing. Exactly. The NCAA does not make sense. They make dollars, folks. This is, and it's fine. I'm one of those people. We know you guys are chasing the dollar signs first and foremost, but don't sit here and say the health and safety of the student athlete is our first priority. It's just, you can't do it. You're talking out of both sides of your mouth, and you're just full of it. So, but there are going to be some Cinderellas, obviously, every year. I do have one out there, definitely. Well, one's not really a Cinderella. I'm just going to throw them out there. Keep an eye on Illinois, Chicago, the Ramblers. They're going to be probably, you know, a higher seed. We're going to be like a 6 seed. So I don't know if they could be considered a Cinderella, but later on, keep an eye on them. But I do have one team that I'm really, really high on, and it's the UC Santa Barbara Gauchos. Not only do I just absolutely love the nickname, but this is a team that has something that I think is very, very important. And it's Ja'Cory McLaughlin, and he is a senior point guard. That is huge this time of year. He averages 16 points per game and over 5 assists. This is a kid, I believe he went to Oregon State. Let me just refer that. Yeah, he went to Oregon State to start and then transferred out. And the best part about this UC Santa Barbara team, obviously, look, it's, you know, an hour up the road. So there's going to be some, you know, 3. Okay, perfect. So there's going to be some San Diego ties, plenty of San Diego ties, not only a San Diego, but maybe even a coach. We have Miles Norris, of course, started out at Brewster Academy. And then Brandon Cyrus started out in Canada, came back down here, finished up. Brandon Cyrus and Miles Norris. Miles Norris, I believe first we said he went to
I'll tell you. Miles Norris started out at Helix High School.
There we go.
Transferred over to prep school at Brewster Academy. Had San Diego State and Oregon as his top 2 choices, and then, you know, Oregon somehow just steals some of those guys. You know, they got Michael Cage Jr. a couple years ago from us. Then they got Miles Norris right after. Whatever they're doing up there, they're doing. But you know what? Between those 2 guys, they haven't been able to keep them for whatever reason. Then we see Miles Norris transfer to City College of San Francisco before finally landing in UC Santa Barbara. So quite the trail, you know, or destinations for this guy. But he's making the best of it this year, and that UC Santa Barbara team is making waves. The other guy you mentioned was Brandon Cyrus. Interesting cat, because he dominated San Diego basketball as a freshman at Torrey Pines before transferring to a prep school, La Lemure. I think it's in Indiana.
Got it.
And then I know he's from Canada originally, but that was before he came to Torrey. He started at DePaul. Was a all freshman team. What is that? Whatever conference they are.
Big East
At DePaul. And for whatever it was more health reasons, and wanted to be closer to home. He lands at UC Santa Barbara. I know USD was in the running for him, and he ended up over at UC Santa Barbara. So glad to see those guys are back in Cali. Glad to see that basketball program is benefiting from our local talent. Glad to see the Big West is going to be represented. It'll be tough to see if they get any justice in this bracket. So it's unfortunate. They might be in the teens as far as the seedings
Yeah, they're
go.
looking Indy Cats. I was just kind of looking over. And once again, the only reason I bring up the Indy Cats is because that's what I saw. But,
Well, he
go
puts
find
himself
Joe
out there.
Lunardi, Jerry
Yeah.
Palm. There are plenty of those. A 13, they had them playing Virginia, which I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing after what
Wow.
Virginia went through this past week. But yeah, that would be a
know,
little tough. But I still think UC Santa Barbara's got a shot.
Yeah, well, Virginia was the first #1 overall team to be defeated 3 seasons ago, and the following season they become the champs.
Yeah.
So they made history in maybe not so much of a nice way, but are they still considered a defending champs?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of have to, right?
So it's kind of written like, you know what? They were the first team ever to be the first overall seed and lose, and then back that up with a championship, and could possibly be the first defending champs to go out in the first round. And because we have heard that they do have some COVID situations going on there. So,
and that's
there's a
another
lot
thing.
of distress. Yeah, I wouldn't want to be that guy right now.
Yeah. I will say for the brackets being put together, it's going to be interesting because normally I talk about it on the Thursday podcast with Raider Jim in the Paint. Normally you see when they put these brackets together, it's a little weird because there's going to be a team that, is a 6 seed, but has to go cross country. I mean, unfortunately it happens in San Diego State more times than I'd like to admit.
Yeah.
But this year, that's not the case. You don't have to worry about everyone's in the state of Indiana. I think there's 6 or 7 arenas, sites, whatever you want to call it. But it's going to be interesting because we always look. I remember there was one year with Gonzaga. They were a 1 seed, and they were, I think, put in the East bracket. The reason they did that is because they wanted them in Seattle, Washington for the first round game. Mm-hmm. Well, Seattle only had a spot open for the East. So they were a 1 seed in the East. So it's like, cool, get to and play the 16 seed and then the 8-9 in Seattle and then go to New York. It's like, no, it should probably kind of be the backwards or the other way around. Mm-hmm. Obviously, that won't be a factor because, once again, everyone is going to be in the state of Indiana, not really having to change. And it'll just kind of be nice to see basketball. I'm a little worried, not going to lie, because we're in a minefield, and I would absolutely hate, first and foremost, for the student athletes to be affected. I don't want anyone get sick, anyone have any ill will from this disease or anything. But as a fan, to get, end day 2, and we wake up in the morning and all of a sudden NCAA comes out, hey, 2 sites have been compromised, we're shutting it down. I mean, it would be very, very tough to kind of have a sip of our, coffee and then someone throw it in our face. It would just be a little tough. And once again, that's a little bit my pessimist coming out, but it has been a year that's probably something that could happen. But I think for college basketball fans, I think I heard the Buffalo Wild Wings commercial. It's like 753 days is the last time we saw March Madness. It's the only major sport in this country that was not given a chance to finish last year. And it's going to be a great, great tournament this year. It's going to be different. I really do wonder. I wonder if the Cinderellas, will see less Cinderellas because you don't have fans. Because you see those fans, those fans that come in, maybe they're going to watch they're Kansas fans, but they got there early to watch the 8, the 4-12 game, 5-12 game. Well, they're going to start rooting for the underdog, right? Because I'd rather face that team than whatever the 5, 4, or 5 seeds. Yeah. So you don't have that kind of 75-80%. Oh my God, this entire place is pulling for us in the last 2 minutes. We'll see how that goes. Obviously, I'm sure a lot of athletes will say, look, I'll get it done on the court. I don't need someone, screaming my name, but it is momentum. It's just fact. But that's all I got for the NCAA tournament. That's it.
That's it. That's all I got for us.
Anything else there, or any final thoughts there, Coach Lupian?
I'm just glad I'm off the DL. We're off the DL. Sorry, I may have jumped the gun on that.
Amen. Yeah, we're
but we got things to do.
Amen. Yeah, believe me. If you want us to be on every Saturday live, 45,000 a year. I'll take that.
Yeah,
And I'll be on, and you don't need to worry about me working or changing my schedule. Yeah, if you want us to be on every Saturday, 10 a.m., 45,000 for me. Coach might need a little more. He's got a little one. I don't.
No,
So,
no.
Oh, he's good. He's good at 45.
I'll take the 45. Yeah, 45. I'm not gonna. There's no controversy, between you and I. We've just made things happen.
Yeah.
We're a team. Teamwork makes the dream work.
Amen.
All the cliches.
Look at that. You could get 2 Bs on a pod on every Saturday for less than $100,000. I mean, how can you beat that deal, folks?
That's a steal, man. That's a steal. Who are we shouting out right now? ESPN Pod, iTunes, or Apple Pod. Who else?
All of them
out there. All of them. iHeart. You gotta listen to us. Put us on.
Yeah, I will say, we have had Glenn Middleton has been hitting me up on YouTube, fan of the podcast. So I'll shout him out. Hopefully he's still listening to all this.
Hey, Glenn. Where's Glenn from?
I'm not sure. The interweb. That's where he's from. Anywhere. Yes, anywhere. So gotcha. He's one of the few people on YouTube that comment that aren't a bot. So congratulations. He might be a bot. Who knows? But I don't know. No, I doubt it. But thank you all so much for listening to another edition, the 20th edition of 2Bs on a Pod. It is presented by the First Off the Bench Podcast Network. Remember, everyone comes off the bench. We are first. It is time for you all to go wash your hands and stop hating everybody. We will talk to you all very soon. Have a great day.
Don't be a hater.